So we look at the life of Jesus, right? And we see him as a man that has accomplished a lot of great things in his life, and we can all agree that it was meaningful. However, if we measure him by today's standards, he would have been less than ideal, a very poor man, a man without reputation, and a man basically to be looked down on. He did not have a house. He shared many times that he doesn't even know where he's sleeping. He also mentioned that he did not have a career in terms of he switched from being a carpenter and he decided to, be a rabbi, and he wanted to be a teacher and follow the will of God. And we also see him not having a family. He's not married. He doesn't have children. He is not raising a family. He is not in a prominent place at the time in the synagogue. He was not a man to be worshipped or lauded or to be ascribed to. Isaiah described him as we wouldn't even want to be associated with him. And I think about how he would have been viewed in his time and how we view him now. And then I think about what it means to lead a meaningful life. And I have found Psalms 90 to be something that has been impactful to me in how I measure how meaningful my life is. One of the first principles that Moses mentions, because he's the one that wrote it, it's actually a prayer. And he says that, teach us to number our days, O God, that we may have a heart of wisdom, that we may lead our lives with a heart of wisdom. And I wonder many times how much counting I'm doing of my life. And one of the first principles I find is that he sought to not measure his life in milestones, but moments. I gather that principle from the verse that he shares earlier in the psalm that says, the grass comes up early, it flourishes, and then in the afternoon it's cut down and it is withered. All of life happens in moments and not milestones. When we wake up in the morning, that is a moment. When somebody takes their last breath, that is also a moment. When the rapture will sound, that will just be a moment. So if we space out our lives and say, I'm going to wait until I get the degree, I'm going to wait until I get the car, I'm going to wait until I get the family, then I will be happy. We will find ourselves having two extreme moments of happiness, and then in the middle just some very mundane days that are probably wasteful, and we see them as meaningless. But here Moses continues to say that every single moment matters. Every single moment is significant because it's a time that God lends us breath. The second principle that I notice is that he asks God to teach him to number his days. And I liken that to having online banking. I find that gone are the days when I go to a supermarket and I give the cashier my card and I have anxiety to see if it's a case where the card is going to be declined or I'm going to be able to pay for the goods. Now with online banking, I'm able to check my account before I actually make the purchase. So I find that counting our days can be likened to that. We no longer have to be confused, or it doesn't have to be a secret as to see how we're spending our days. There is countless ways to measure it. Our phones measure it for us. If we check, our phones will tell us how long we spend on each app, or other devices will tell us how long we're doing things on them. But aside from our phones measuring that, we can even measure how we spend our time. Do we invest it in friends? Do we invest it in family? Are we investing it in the kingdom? Or is it a case where we are just mindless and focused on ourselves, and also just living life in mediocrity? We find that we can actually count our days now because we can count where we're spending our time. So if we want to change our lives, change the way you spend your time. The last principle that I noticed was he asked for God to satisfy him in the morning with his steadfast love, that he may experience gladness and to be able to rejoice. Now, I thought rejoice means to be cheerful. You're always happy-go-lucky and nothing gets you down, but that has not been my experience, and I'm quite sure you don't spend every waking day smiling. However, his encouragement is not to be a placid person where you're not able to experience sadness or down moments, but he's encouraging us to rejoice. And when I looked further into that word rejoice, I saw that it meant to be favorably disposed towards grace. So even in the down moments, even in the moments when you are not necessarily experiencing all you'd want to, or everything is not working the way you would want to, you can also lean towards grace and say, it is of the Lord's mercies why I am not consumed. Things are terrible, things are bad, things are not looking well, but in the midst of that, we can say that we are still living by the grace of God. And so today I want to encourage you, spend your time wisely and also live a meaningful life.